Lepo pozdravljeni ponovno v našem kotičku. Danes nekaj izjemnega. Z nami je Phil Learney, z katerim smo ravno kar oddelali seminar, dvodnevni seminar, in sicer najprej napredne prehranske strategije in pa kasneje še iz vidika treninga za hipertrofijo in pa za izgubo maščobe. Phila bomo poprašali par zadev. Jaz se bom potrudil čim boljše to prevesti, zato da boste to razumeli. Drugače pa poslušajte tudi njegov podcast ali pa obiščite njegovo stran na www.phillearney.com in boste tam izvedeli veliko več o Philu samem in kaj je počel do danes. So, hi Phil.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Very good.
It's been 2 days on the seminar right now. How do you like Slovenia?
Slovenia is lovely. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, we took the bikes out on Friday, went over to Austria, and came back into Slovenia, and it was great. Really enjoyed it. Really nice city, and yeah, I'll probably be back.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. How about the gym? Do you like it?
Yeah, great setup. Equipment's great. There's a good vibe here. The staff all seem very nice, and I think you've got a good setup, really.
Good to know. We started almost a year ago, so we were doing a couple of things now, and we are making mostly each week some major suggestions for the major people, what to do to take care of their health, how to train to stay in shape and everything. What would be your suggestion to them for general health?
General health, I mean, it's to get an idea of really how you want to progress. You know, you want to lose some body fat, you want to look at the cardiovascular system or whatever it might be, and a lot of the time I think it's just a matter of seeking the right advice from the right people. And a lot of people, it's one of those things where in life that people assume they already know what they should be doing. And if people knew what they should be doing, they'd be doing it already and would have been doing it for a long time. And what I see an awful lot of is people playing at things almost for 10 years or whatever, doing things okay, when if they just seek a bit of good advice with respect to training, with respect to exercise, to specifics as to what they should be doing, they'd spend a lot less time wasting their time. So from a perspective of training and things like this, I think it's just important to get the right technique, doing the right things at an early stage. Obviously, if we can learn this when we're kids and things like this, it's even better. But moving that forward, adults fixing mechanics and looking at how they actually move, how they function, and then just tying that in really with the secondary goal, which will be some people they want to get stronger, some people want to lose body fat, some people want to be bodybuilders, whatever it might be. And whatever their goal is, you've got to then focus the training towards that. Nutrition-wise, I think it's just a matter of people looking at food from a context of its value, as opposed to what is it? Is it convenient? Is it packaged? Is it there just because it's easy for me to grab something? As opposed to thinking that way, thinking about the quality of food, the nutrient value of food, and it isn't always about the balance that people are obsessed about. They're always thinking about do I need this amount of carbohydrates, this amount of protein, this amount of fat? For a lot of people, it's just a matter of cleaning your food up. We're not talking about people eating chicken and broccoli, for example, 10 times a day. We're talking about people eating real food for a change, and clean food, being sensible about their intake. And for a lot of people, that's adequate. People who want to advance it a little bit more, again, same thing. You should seek advice from the right sort of people. Decide what their goals are, how their nutrition should reflect those goals, and then come to some sort of plan that suits not only their goals, but suits their lifestyle and suits their times that they've got available for things, and also suits things like their training.
Okay, I guess, I'm not guessing actually, I know you're teaching this kind of stuff on all your seminars, and I guess it would be reasonable for people to go to the people that were on your seminars as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, the way I'm coaching it is I'm looking at trainers or coaches who probably just have gaps in their knowledge more than anything. They're very knowledgeable people, because they're in the industry, they've got experience, they're spending a lot of time with clients, with people, and obviously from that you're going to develop this experience. But much like anybody, coaches and trainers, they tend to overcomplicate things. They have this tendency to overthink things, and and think that, you know, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, and there's all these different things out there. And much like with the general public, they get blinded because there's so many systems, there's so many, you know, methods, and so many this, that, the other, and they're so finicky about how, you know, how they're going to pick which one's going to work best for them, that eventually they just choose anything, as opposed to just having, you know, a very simple, very basic plan which revolves around, you know, sort of real food. And, you know, a lot of my seminars are about these systems, about these methods that people have, all these, you know, different styles of eating, you know, these diets and these fads and etc, etc. And rather than necessarily going, look, this is the best one, this is the worst one, we're looking at them from a context, and the coaches that, you know, obviously you've experienced it this weekend, but the coaches, it's looking at being able to understand why it's good, who it's good for, who it's appropriate for, who should it be applied to, and then looking at all these different systems and going, look, could we use a hybrid almost of these systems? Could we use a mixture of them to get the same kind of end result? And, you know, it's just being educated about why did these systems come about, how did these systems come about, and what are they actually trying to target? So why would you know, put a bolus of carbs in a particular time or place? Why would you avoid them? Why would you add more protein in? Why would you add more fat in? Why would you take fats away? And there's this obsession in dietary culture of omitting things, taking things away, you know, and our goal as coaches, you know, I believe, and I strongly believe, that our goal is to get people into a position where they can enjoy food once again. There's no guilt, there's no paranoia about what they shouldn't be eating, but also get them into a groove of eating real food again, and getting back to, you know, food that's cooked, food that's prepared, food that's fresh, and looking at these sort of things and then going, right, what kind of structure would work best for me to get my goals? And then obviously if people are looking at extreme compositional changes, they're going to have to, you know, batten down the hatches to some degree and say, we've got to change a few things, and we've got to sacrifice a few things, and there's a few things I'm going to have to say goodbye to for a short while before I can reintroduce them. So it's things like, you know, the obsession with taking gluten and wheat out of your diet. For a lot of people, they don't need to eradicate it, they just maybe need to have a little bit of time off from it to get away from it, because it's all to do with the enzymes and, you know, how you handle things. And unfortunately, we tend to, as human beings, we tend to revolve around a certain number of foods, and we tend to go back to those foods again and again and again. And this is culture, it's, you know, when we were brought up, it's the way our parents ate, and we'll eat those same foods again and again and again. You know, imagine your mother and father like white bread. You've spent most of your life eating white bread. So you know, you just follow those patterns. So I think it's a matter of breaking those patterns down and going, look, historically, what have you done, and what have you probably had too much of, overwhelmed? Then chances are you probably need to take that away, reintroduce stuff that isn't that, but perhaps from the same food group, and, you know, mix it into a system that's going to work, that's relative to your goals. So that's relative to what do you want at the end of this. Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to be leaner? Do you want to be more muscular? And it's a lot more simple, really, than people probably make out. And it's, you know, it's overcomplicated for us, it's overcomplicated for the general public, it's overcomplicated for everybody, because people are, you know, they're just confusing things. You go back a century, you know, food is fairly simple, you know, and people were leaner, and people were, you know, they were healthier in many respects, you know. Now we're a society of people who are healthier because they're heavily medicated. Whereas what we want is people, you know, being healthy from food, and being healthy from nutrients, and, you know, and looking after themselves that way, as opposed to, look, I've got a problem, now medical science can help me. You know, we want medical science to be there, but we want it to be there at the appropriate time, instead of just going, right, we're just going to patch you up with it. So, you know, just real food, and how do we combine it, and how do we eat the right things at the right time in our life?
Okay. You always say there's a big difference between training and exercising. With which of those two should people start? Should they start to exercise at least, or should they?
No, because exercise to me, and this is the way that I term it, training has an end product. People train for something specific. So it might be fat loss, it might be muscle gain, it might be strength gain, it might be for a specific sporting event. Exercise is activity. So the only time that somebody should be looking at, do I need to introduce exercise into my day, is if you become lazy and you've spent half your life not doing a single thing. Because what people do is they become inactive, it becomes habit, just like everything else. Inactivity becomes a habit, and you know, by default, you know, you probably don't eat terribly well. And when you don't eat terribly well, you don't have any energy, so therefore it's just this nasty cycle that people get into. They eat better, they've got more energy, they can then exercise or do activity more. You know, maybe anything, it might be going 10-pin bowling, it might be walking the dog, it might be going out cycling, it might be anything like this. And it stems from things such as simple as, you know, I need the remote control in order to turn the TV over, you know, and I don't want to get up because the remote control's over there. You know, this is the depth at which we've got to. So it's just really important for people to be thinking about exercise and activity as something they do on a daily basis. If they don't do it on a daily basis, obviously that's the first thing they probably need to introduce. Then training comes in. Training comes in when people go, right, I have got a specific goal and I do want to lose fat, or I do want to build muscle tissue, or I do want to condition myself for an event or a sport or something like that. And then training has an end product. So you go to a coach, you speak to yourself, me or whoever it might be, and you say, look, I need to get from here to here. How long is it going to take me? You tell me how long it's going to take me, then we put a plan together. We apply something to that plan and go, right, this is how we're going to get from A to B, and then when we get to B, we're going to decide where do we want to go after that. Do we want to go from B to C? Or do we just want to slide straight back to A? You know, what do we want to do? And it's training, there's always an end goal, you know, and people exercise, exercise too much. It's the wrong kind of term, but people don't exercise too much, but people expect results from exercise when it's nondescript. So exercise classes don't have an end goal. They're there for enjoyment and a bit of activity. That's what they're there for. You're not going to burn a ton of fat. You're not going to build muscle tissue. You know, you might by default to some degree, but it's not specific. So, you know, you could be spending the hour doing something specific to your goal, as opposed to spending the hour, you know, dancing around a studio, just enjoying yourself, which I've got nothing against. But if you're doing it for the goal, you're probably wasting your time. You might as well be training. So it's kind of a balance between things. But you know, I'm a big fan of activity, big fan of people being outdoors, and big fan of people doing things like this. But if they've got a specific goal, that isn't probably going to achieve it. They're going to need to do something which is more specific and more targeted, should we say.
Okay, well, that was it for now. I hope we see you pretty soon again in Slovenia and make another seminar on it, and teach more trainers in Slovenia how to do it.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Take care. Tako, drage dame in gospodje, za danes bo to dovolj. To je naša zadnja oddaja v tem letu. Vidimo se v naslednji sezoni z novimi prispevki iz BPGIM-a in pa tudi z našim Sanjem v studiu. Do takrat pa iz BPGIM-a lep pozdrav od mene in pa od Fila. Adijo.